federal government plans to recruit about 200,000 health volunteers into the recently launched Community Health Influencers, Promoters and Service Program. The Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shoaib, explains that the program is designed to improve access to health within the communities. The agency is planning to train at least 10 volunteers per ward across the country, while state governments are expected to take care of the finances of managing the volunteers. President Muhammad Buhari launched the program last week in Lafia, the capital of Nasarawa State.
By the time we recruit between 10 to 20 women CHIPS agents per ward, we'll be approaching nearly 200,000 CHIPS agents. This will be the largest aggregation of community-based workers anywhere in Africa. There's no doubt, the science is clear, that these community-based workers are important. What we have done now is moved away from just the policy of the Federal Ministry of Health or the federal government and actually executing on it. So we've started with a few states like Nasarawa that have started rolling it out, and we're going state by state. Immediately after Mr. President launched last week, we had calls from some executive governors that said, this is exactly what I need for my community members. When I got elected, I said I was going to bring healthcare services closer to my people. This is the solution that we've been waiting for. So when are you coming to my state? And then give us some guidance on how we can scale all of this up. So even for those programs that exist, in the end, we probably have somewhere between 20 to maybe 25,000 community health workers that now exist, right? Some of them, like the traditional birth attendants, are not educated. Some of them are illiterate. What we're saying is if you are involved in those kind of community interventions, we will train you, upskill you, and then make you a CHIPS agent.
River State Governor Nyesom Wike is optimistic that ongoing key projects in the state will be delivered as planned. The governor, who just arrived from a trip outside the country, explains that he's leaving nothing to chance at ensuring that he keeps his fingers constantly on the matter. He also mentioned that his government will not be distracted by those who seek to scoop cheap political points in the state, insisting that the projects are vital to the development of the state.
The quality of work, we're quite impressed. I think they have improved quite a lot tremendously. And you can see the morgue has come out very well. We believe that the next 1 month, the morgue would have been finished. And then the doctor's residential quarters also there. So we're quite happy what is going on. We've been to the industrial court. That's almost, say, 75–80% completed. We've been to the produce house and the new office complex at the back. That's almost completed. Now we're in the Court of Appeal. And I can say that I'm quite impressed. Last time we came here, you can see that I wasn't that happy. But with what we have seen now, we're quite convinced that in the next few weeks, they would have completed this. It's a total turnaround.
The River State Governor, Mr. Nyesom Wike. Traders at the Kado fish market in the nation's capital, Abuja, are asking the federal government to address the infrastructure challenges in Abuja's major fish market. The traders spoke to our correspondent Kayla Megwa and identified power as the major challenge they face. This special report looks at the inner workings of Abuja's premier fish market.
The idea of the market started in 1994 when the former minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Lieutenant General Jeremiah Useni, set aside the place for fish traders because he wanted to discourage fish selling in places that are unhygienic. However, the market effectively took off in 2005 when former FCT minister and now governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, relocated the traders who were scattered across the nation's capital. Malam Ibrahim Mohammed is one of the first traders to move here, and he is the chairman of the Market Association. He tells us how the market has evolved over the years.
For FCT to move on and the environs like the Niger State, Nasarawa State, Kogi State, Plateau State, they don't have any fish market. So they decided to establish Kado fish market so that all these neighboring states can bring their fish to Kado fish market to sell.
The market is known for stocking all kinds of fish and items used for fishing business. Whether it is for consumption or for rearing, Kado Market serves the nation's capital and neighboring states.
We have a lot of catfish, freshwater. We have guarua and asa, yoni, and other seafood we have available.
There are international standards when it comes to fish storage and processing. At the Kado Fish Market, power supply is a major issue that inhibits the traders from achieving these standards.
Then this one, the normal storage is written in the Kado. But in Nigeria here, the government cannot be able to give us enough power supply so that we can maintain the storage system written in the lesson of this. And if you look at this way, you see how we are right about the degree centigrade. How long? 18 degrees centigrade. So we need to have a steady light.
Mubarak Umar is a student of the Umar Ali Shinkafi Polytechnic, Sokoto. When he's not in school, he's in the market, making some money to sustain his education. However, access to finance is a major challenge for some of these traders, including Mubarak.
Just with the manage, because in these conditions. So I will just manage something that I get, I will keep it one side. You see that I will get something that I will go and pay my school fees and do something that I want.
This market is a source of livelihood for many of these traders, and for them, a deliberate focus on the fishing sector by the Ministry of Agriculture will attract more people to the fishing business. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
As part of efforts to reduce the cases of attacks between herders and farmers across the country, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the NSCDC, is training some of its officers on how to effectively secure ranches and cattle colonies. Officials of the NSCDC in Niger and Kaduna states, where the training is already ongoing, say that the proposed ranches and grazing reserves are part of measures put in place by the federal government to tackle the conflict that have left several people dead in most parts of the country.
The unending crisis between herdsmen and farmers is still a subject of national discourse. It is a matter that has given the federal government so much worry in recent times, requiring urgent attention and strategic planning. One of the immediate suggestions is to provide better security in the troubled areas through the federal government's Agro-Ranger scheme, and the NSCDC is one of the few security outfits designated to activate the program. The officers are selected from the 36 states of the Federation, and they will undergo trainings on surveillance, intelligence gathering, peace, and conflict resolution.
We are mandated to secure and protect potential investors in agriculture, both foreign investors, indigenous investors, community, or government.
At the end of their training, the officers will also be deployed on request, as well as government-owned cattle colonies, ranches, and grazing reserves. The Director General, Nomadic Affairs in Niger State, Abdullahi Babayo, is confident that the new security scheme will help secure more lives and foster a better relationship between herdsmen and farmers.
I'm assuring you we are ready to accommodate anybody into Niger State for investors and the farmers and the herders, the herdsmen. They can come from various states. We are ready to accommodate them. But they have to change the way they go, because we cannot accommodate a criminal.
There are hopes, however, that this immediate solution will reduce the clashes between farmers and herdsmen to the barest and also end the killings.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television live from Lagos. Let's quickly shift gears to business news, shall we? With Anne Wilder.
And yes, welcome to Business News. A latest report by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria shows that investments made by its members from January to June 2017 surged by 99.2% from 329.9 billion naira from 165.6 billion naira it was in 2016. According to that report, investments under the construction industry ranked the highest, with over 188.04 billion naira, followed by the plant and machinery industry with 112.88 billion naira. The food, beverages and tobacco sector topped sectoral performance with over 91 billion naira, followed by the chemical and pharmaceutical manufacturers with over 89 billion naira, while investments in glass, cement and ceramics reached 61.2 billion naira. In the meantime, the association says that there is need for conducive operating environment, which of course includes efficient infrastructure, export incentives, access to adequate foreign exchange, and a maximum of 5% interest rate on credit. This is all to help attract more investors. The federal government is targeting a total of 4 million new taxpayers into the tax net through the implementation of the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, which is aimed at raising at least $1 billion in revenue. That's been disclosed by the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, at the ongoing Platform for Collaboration and Tax Conference at the United Nations in New York. She says that Nigeria has adopted the Common Reporting Standards, which allows the exchange of financial account information to ensure transparency in the tax system. Well, according to her, the federal government has engaged a leading international asset tracing and investigation agency, Kado, as part of measures to track illegal financial flows. It's been mixed performance at the Nigerian Stock Exchange this week, as losses recorded in the first 2 sessions outweighed 3 positive sessions this week. That led to a 1.13% drop in the all-share index, which stands at 42.638 points. And the insurance index also recorded the largest loss, followed by the industrial goods, the oil and gas, the consumer goods, and the banking sectors. A total turnover of 2.94 billion shares worth 27.92 billion naira in 28,570 deals were traded this week by investors. 30 equities appreciated in price during the week, led by Berger Paints, while Consolidated Hallmark Insurance led 47 other decliners. In the meantime, analysts are expecting more demands for stock next week as investors take position ahead of the release of fourth quarter 2017 corporate earnings. Let's go to the Treasury bills market now, where it saw mixed performance this week as average yields rose by 10 basis points to 14.53%. Yield expansion at the short and the mid ends of the curve more than outweighed the contraction in the long segment. Meanwhile, 6 billion naira, 30 billion naira and 140 billion naira of the 91-day, the 182-day and the 364-day bills were allotted at this week's Treasury bill auction. The bills had a stop rate of 91-day, closing lower at 11.95%, while it was also unchanged for the 182-day and the 364-day bills at 13.65% and 13.70% each. From there, we go to the money market. The overnight lending rate dropped by 2,600 basis points to 19.50%. That's against last week's close of 45.50%. And that's been largely driven by inflows of bond coupon payment and matured OMO bills worth 47.12 billion naira and 89.08 billion naira respectively, which of course offset outflows via OMO and forex sales worth 75.04 billion naira and $210 million. The overnight money market rate is expected to expand next week as outflows are likely to outweigh inflows of maturing OMO bills worth 56.43 billion naira. That's business news for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Wawadu. It's back to you, Gimba.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria's fine run at the Women's Waffle Cup continues. The Super Falcons beat Senegal 3-0. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.